Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, Chapter number 8, titled Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu. Text number 6. Muhur Grinanto Vachasanuraga. Muhur Grinanto Vachasanuraga. Skalat pade nasya kritani tagya. Skalat pade nasya kritani tagya. Kirita sahasramani praveka. Kirita sahasramani praveka. Prajyotito dhamapana sahasram. Prajyotito dhamapana sahasram. Muhur grinanto vachasanuraga. Skalat pade nasya kritani tagya. Kirita sahasramani praveka. Prajyotito dhamapana sahasram. Muhur grinanto vachasanuraga. Skalat pade nasya kritani tagya. Kirita sahasramani praveka. Prajyotito dhamapana sahasram. Skalat padena sakritani tagya. Kirita sahasramani praveka. Mugnanto vachasanuraga. Skalat padena sakritani tagya. Kirita sahasramani praveka. Prajyotito dhamapana sahasram. Word for word translation, Muhu, again and again. Grinantaha, glorifying. Vachasa, by words. Anuraga, with great affection. Skalat padena, with symmetrical rhythm. Asya, of the Lord. Kritani, activities. Tagya, those who know the pastimes. Kirita, helmets. Sahasra, thousands. Mani praveka, glowing effulgence of the valuable stones. Prajyotita, emanating from. Udama, raised. Pana, hoods. Sahasram, thousands. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the four Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumara, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words, full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarshan, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. Purport: the Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Sloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by devotees. A profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. There are many instances in which even a small boy, who was a great devotee of the Lord, could offer excellent praise in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. In other words, without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer praise to the Lord very suitably. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshulmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class today, for everyone who's tuning in. So we're continuing on a discussion from the start of chapter 8 of 3rd canto, titled The Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu. So, previous chapter we saw there was a whole big long list of questions that Vidura asked further to Maitreya Rishi. And at the start of this chapter we're given now Maitreya Muni's response to Vidura. And he doesn't immediately start answering the questions directly, but firstly we saw at the start of the chapter how Maitreya Rishi, he was thanking Vidura, he was glorifying, we were hearing recently from Ishapur that he was glorifying Vidura for asking such nice questions, and he was offering his gratitude to Vidura, saying that, because I'm grateful to have your association, because of your association, because of you asking these questions, I'm getting an opportunity to talk about Krishna. And by getting this opportunity to talk about Krishna, I myself are advancing spiritually also. So in this way, Maitreya Rishi, he was offering his gratitude to Vidura at the start of his chapter, and he was also glorifying Vidura. That it's no wonder you're asking such nice questions like this, because you're coming from the great dynasty of King Puru, in which so many great pure devotees of the Lord are, and because you're also coming in that dynasty, so naturally you're also so Krishna conscious, you're also asking such nice wonderful questions, and because of me having your association, because of you asking these questions, I'm getting an opportunity to speak about Krishna. So in this way he's thanking Vidura at the start in text number 2, then in text number 1, at the start of the chapter, then text number 2. Then finally Maitreya Rishi says, okay, now I'm going to speak to you and answer all your questions. And these answers which I'm going to give to you, these answers, it's not something just coming out of my own mind, but it's actually directly the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in text number 2 he says, let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavad Purana, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the Personality of Godhead. So now Maitreya Rishi, he's saying, okay, whatever answers I'm going to give you now, it's simply a repeated message of what's directly coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this way, when you quote another great personality, then naturally what you're speaking, people will take it more seriously. That, okay, this is actually directly coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so one will naturally pay more attention. Then text number 3, then he gives a little bit of background of when exactly did Krishna, he speak this message and how it came through disciplic succession to him. So that's what we're reading now. Maitreya Rishi is giving a little bit of background of the history of Srimad Bhagavatam, how it was first spoken by Lord Sankarshan to the 4 Kumaras. So their history is given. And then from 4 Kumaras, we'll hear in the coming verses, the 4 Kumaras, then they spoke whatever they heard from Lord Sankarshan. to a sage named Sankhya Yana Muni. So first Lord Sankarshan, he spoke this Bhagavatam to the four Kumaras. Four Kumaras spoke it to Sankhya Yana Muni, so that's given in text 7. And then Sankhya Yana Muni in turn, he recited the same Srimad Bhagavatam in disciplic succession to Parasara Muni. Sorry, not Muni. Yes, so then he recited the same message to Parasara Muni. And Parasara Muni, he's the spiritual master of Maitra Rishi. So in this way, Maitra Rishi, he gives a history of the disciplic succession in which he is coming in. And in this way, he is making it known that whatever he's about to speak to him, it's bona fide, it's not just something his own mental concoction, but Maitra Rishi is trying to put forward that whatever I'm going to speak to you now, it's all coming through disciplic succession from Lord Sankarshan, from Kumaras, from Sankyana Rishi, from Parasara Muni. So in this way, this is all coming through disciplic succession. So in this way, Vidura, he can, with full faith, take whatever words is coming from Maitra Rishi's lotus mat with full faith. Now I'll read today's translation. The four Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumara, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarshan, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. So in the previous verses, we were hearing how the four Kumaras, they're situated up in the higher planetary systems in Brahmaloka, and they come all the way from the top of the universe to the bottom of the universe where Lord Sankarshan is. And how do they do that? It's in the previous verses we were hearing how the Ganga, it's the one river which flows through the entire universe. Other rivers, they flow through one planet or one particular region of one planetary system, but that's the unique thing of Mother Ganga, that she's flowing through the entire planetary system. So she's going all the way from the top of the planetary system to the bottom of the planetary system. And Prabhupada is explaining that great yogis, elevated transcendentalists, they know the art of how to travel from one part of the universe to another by just taking a dip in the Ganga. Because the Ganga is going all the way from top to the bottom. So that's what the four Kumaras do. They take a dip in the Ganga, up in the higher planetary systems, and then immediately they're transported through Mother Ganga to the bottom of the universe where Lord Sankarshan is situated. And that's why in the previous verse, text 5, it said, the sages came from the highest planets down to the lowest region through the water of the Ganges, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. So four Kumaras, they have a shika just like us. So as they enter the Ganga and were transported down, and they came out to offer praise to Lord Sankarshan, they came with wet shikas. And then they touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of the Serpent King when they desire good husbands. So now they're here in front of Lord Sankarshan, they offer their obeisances, and now they start glorifying the Supreme Lord, start offering different prayers. And in the translation, Prabhupada is writing that they glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. So just like Ghanshyam Prabhu, he would always tell us that whenever we recite Sanskrit, we should recite it out loud. And the general Vedic custom is there's different tunes and meters for reciting Sanskrit slokas. So that's like Vedic culture. So we see that with the four Kumaras here. These prayers that they're offering, these prayers are done with rhythmic accents. So they're done with nice, beautiful tunes, with nice music, and along with that, with selected words full of affection and love. In the purport, Prabhupada is writing, the Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Sloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words, my devotees. As we know from Prahlad Maharaj, how there's 9 different processes of devotional service, and one of the processes of devotional service is offering prayers. And just like in any other form of devotional service, there's certain requirements and qualifications which, as devotees, as servants, we should fulfill to do that service nicely for the pleasure of Supreme Lord. Just like there's the devotional service of Archana, and that's deity worship. So now in deity worship, there's a lot of different rules and regulations which one is supposed to follow, and if one follows all those rules and regulations, then that service will be pleasing to the Lord. And if he doesn't follow the rules and the requirements and the the different injunctions given in the Shastra for doing archanam, then it won't be so pleasing to the Lord, and he might do some seva prad. So in the same way, just like archanam, it's a great form of devotional service, and there's a certain method to do archanam properly. There's a certain method to do deity worship, and we have to follow the injunctions of Shastra. Similarly, when it comes to offering prayers, it's not something we can just whimsically do. There's also a certain requirement and certain criteria we have to follow so that our prayers are very pleasing to the Lord, and so we make nice devotional advancement. So in archanam, we know there's so many different rules and regulations. For example, Prabhupada was writing or explaining to his devotees that the two most important aspects of deity worship is cleanliness and punctuality. So before coming for deity worship, we all cleanse ourselves, wear suchi clothes, we do archanam, and also internally in our mind we have to be clean in consciousness, and we make sure everything is neat and tidy, and we're very punctual. So in the same way, what is the requirements of offering prayers? That Prabhupada is explaining in today's purpose. So Prabhupada is saying that one of Krishna's names is Uttama Sloka, which means he is worshipped with selected words by devotees, which means the prayers which a devotee is supposed to offer, it can't just be something very random or something, it has to be done with nice selected words by devotees. That's why Prabhupada, he would mention often, and also in his purports he writes, that it's good to offer our own prayers, but we can make more advancement, our prayers will have more potency if we simply repeat the prayers of the previous acharyas or great devotees of the Lord. Because these great devotees of the Lord, because of their purity, because of their liberated state of life, they're directly being guided by the Supreme Lord within the heart. So when they're offering prayers not just randomly, but they're offering prayers with selected words, as Prabhupada is saying here. So they carefully choose certain words, phrases, and like this they compose beautiful poetry and beautiful Sanskrit slokas, and in this way they glorify the Lord. And this is very pleasing to the Lord. So that's why Prabhupada, he many times mentioned in his purports and lectures that it's nice to offer our own prayers, but if we repeat the prayers of the great devotees, acharyas, it will have more effect, because these great devotees, because of the elevated state of consciousness, their prayers, they've been carefully selected with nice Sanskrit words, phrases to glorify the Lord properly. And this is very important, just like in deity worship, as I was explaining, there's certain rules and criteria to be followed. Same thing with offering prayers. There needs to be a certain etiquette followed. And just like we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are hearing about Swarup Damodar Goswami. He is the personal secretary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of his services was that any time any Vaishnava would come with any, different Vaishnavas, they would write different poetry, different songs, or different commentaries on different Shastras, and they will come and everyone would know the glories of Mahaprabhu. So naturally they would like to present an offering to Mahaprabhu. So they would come and say that, please, I would like to meet Mahaprabhu. I've composed this beautiful song glorifying Jagannath. I've composed this beautiful poem glorifying Krishna. Or I've written this nice commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Or I've written, some nice commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. So like this, they would come and request to see Mahaprabhu to present a nice poem or a nice song or a commentary on the Shastra which they've written. But before they could directly go to Mahaprabhu and show, the injunction was that first Swarup Damodar would check that song or check that poem and check that commentary on a particular Shastra and see if everything is proper. See if the language they're using, the mood, and the philosophy that's coming out in the poem or in the song or in the commentary, it's proper. It's according to bhakti, it's according to regulated principles. If it's proper, then Swarup Damodar will say, okay, you can go and show your poem or song or commentary to Mahaprabhu. If Swarup Damodar would find something wrong, then he would reject and he would say, no, sorry, this song is not proper, this poem is not proper. He will point out the faults and he said, this won't be pleasing to the Supreme Lord, so you can't go and show. So in this way, again, we're seeing with composing songs, prayers, commentaries, there's a certain etiquette that needs to be followed. So Samrup Damodar, he had this service of checking, and it's given in CC by Krishna Kaviraj Goswami that Mahaprabhu, he was very strict about what particular songs and poems or commentaries can come up to him. And Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, he writes that Mahaprabhu didn't want to read or hear anything which had rasa bas, or mixing of different rasas, or philosophy misinterpreted, twisted this way and that way. It would disturb Mahaprabhu. So that's why Mahaprabhu, he got Swarup Damodar to cross-check before anyone came and presented their writings to him. So that's why Prabhupada is writing here that the Lord is addressed as Uttama Sloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words. So the proper words and language, philosophy needs to be used. That's why easiest method, Prabhupada says, you just repeat whatever the previous Acharya said, because we can be fully confident whatever they've written, it's perfect and it's supremely pleasing to the Lord. So one who is smart, intelligent, he will just repeat the praise of the previous Acharyas. So then the question comes up, then, how can we be personal with Sri Sri Radha Gopal? If we're not allowed, if we're conditioned, we can't offer our own prayers because, we have our own mature mind, mature intelligence, and we can't come up with nice language words, nice philosophy, and we can only repeat the words of the previous Acharyas, then, how can I be more personal? I'm just be repeating the words of the Acharyas just like a robot, So it will be like very mechanical, and there won't be any personalism with my relationship with Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. So a nice balance, my Guru Maharaj says, is firstly, you can offer a prayer by a previous Acharya or a great devotee like Prahlad Maharaj. Then alongside with the prayer offered by this great Acharyas, you can offer your own prayers. So in that mood, so you can balance it together. So say, I don't know, in your heart, you find you want to develop better relationship with devotees, and that's what you want to beg Sri Sri Radha Gopinath that please bless me so I can get some better relationship with the other devotees. So what you do, you find some nice verse in the Shastra or some particular devotee who is praying for the Lord for the same thing you're desiring. So you look at Prahlad Maharaj, he's praying to Lord Nrsimhadev. You find one verse for Prahlad Maharaj in that big long chapter where Prahlad Maharaj is praying for the Sangha of devotees, or you look at Dhruva Maharaj's prayers, find one nice verse where he's praying for devotee Sangha. Then you recite that verse in front of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. Then after reciting that, you offer your prayers also. And that Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, I really like your devotees, I would like to develop a better relationship with them. You please bless me. I can't do it on my own endeavor. I don't have the intelligence, the qualification. You please bless me so I can also develop nice friendship with your devotees and get closer to them. So in this way, it's, we're still having that personal relationship with Radha Gopinath. We're still revealing whatever is in our heart. We're not hiding anything inside. We're not being mechanical or robotic. But at the same time, we're following the proper etiquette. We're offering as Prabhupada is saying, offering selected words of praise given by the previous acharyas and devotees. So in this way we can balance. We can offer a particular sloka or a verse recited by previous acharyas and devotees, and along with that we can present our own prayers. Whatever is in our heart we can reveal. So we don't have to hide anything in our heart. As Ghanshyam Prabhu says, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, there are mother and father. So whatever is in our heart we can reveal to them. If we're going through any trouble, if there's something we want, we just come and just reveal, just like we would reveal to our best friend. So Gopinath is our best friend. So just like one reveals his heart to his best friend, the same way we can reveal whatever is in our heart. But along with that, Prabhupada is saying, we can, that particular offering to Krishna, of praying to him, will become more potent if along with our own prayers, we offer prayers given by the previous acharyas. So we can try and that way link it, like whatever desires in our heart, prayers we have, we can try and find one sloka or one bhajan, like in that songbook, Vaishnava songbook Prabhupada has given us. There's so many beautiful, wonderful bhajans. And the amazing thing of these bhajans given in the songbook, they're all given in different moods. Like some of the moods of the song is that of lamentation, that, oh, I'm so fallen, I wasted my life. And then other songs will be in the mood of, of desiring to attain spiritual perfection, that I would like to serve, Krishna in Vrindavan. I would like to seat them on the golden throne and worship them. I would like to offer them betel nut and so on and so forth. And then, like this, different songs have different moods. So depending on what mood we're in one day, we can pick one song and offer them. So like this, we can match what's going on in our heart with a song or a bhajan or a verse or a sloka given by previous acharyas or great devotees of the Lord. And this way we can have a nice balance of offering selected words of prayers, but at the same time not making it very robotic or mechanical, but also making it very personal to Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. So some days we might be feeling a bit down, we might have messed up in some service and we might be feeling very low that, oh, I messed up on this service, I screwed up, or we might be thinking, how much time I wasted in my life, I wish I came to Krishna consciousness earlier. So then there's so many bhajans in the songbook which are sung in that same mood, like particularly by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He is a Nityasiddha devotee of Lord, but for our benefit he's written many songs of lamentation where he's lamenting, or I wasted my life, in family life, I wasted my time and energy in doing this and in sense gratification. Oh Krishna, I didn't worship you, I was just drinking, pot of poison. So some days when we're feeling that way, we can, combine our heart with those prayers, with that mood and recite. Other days we'll be feeling very, upbeat and we'll be having the strong desire, to serve Krishna. Then we can offer the other prayers, which are done in the mood of desiring spiritual perfection. Like that song we were singing recently in Julan Yatra, Radha Krishna Pranamora Jugola Kishore, that Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, they're my life and soul, and I would like to seat them on a golden throne and worship them, offer them betel nut, fan them with chamara. I will go and take permission of Lalita Sakhi and the gopis, and this way taking permission of all the Sakhis and the gopis, I will, worship the divine couple. So depending on our mood, our consciousness, our desires, we can offer different, we can match that with a particular bhajan and song or a verse from the Shastra, and this way it will be very personal. At the same time, we will be fulfilling this requirement of offering proper selected words. So that's the first thing Prabhupada is mentioning, that Krishna's name is Uttama Sloka, which means one is worshipped with selected words by devotees. Then Prabhupada is saying, a profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. So someone can properly glorify Gopinath with selected words if they're fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. So for us, we have some love and affection, but we don't have like that full, affection and love for Gopinath. So that's why, as we were mentioning before, we repeat the prayers of the previous acharyas. There are many instances, so Prabhupada's continuing on in the purport, there are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord could offer excellent praise in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. So now in this statement by Prabhupada, we see how merciful Krishna is and how in Krishna consciousness or in bhakti there's no barrier. So I'll read this line again by Prabhupada. Prabhupada is writing, there are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord could offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. So by giving this example of even a small boy can offer great prayers to the Lord, Prabhupada is emphasizing this point that to offer prayers to the Lord, actually there's no barrier. Anyone and everyone can do it. If even a small boy, a 5-year-old boy who's just barely learned how to speak, so like we observe the congregation kids, as they're growing up, when they're little, they can't speak so nicely. But in bhakti, there's no barrier. Anyone and everyone can do it, regardless of age. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, what to speaking of taking up bhakti after he was born, he started practicing right from the womb of his mother. In one purport, Prabhupada explains this, of how in bhakti there's no age barrier. And Prabhupada gives, just like Prahlad Maharaj, he took up bhakti while he was in the womb, while before even he was born. Then Prabhupada gives the example of someone who is a little kid. And Prabhupada gives the example of Dhruva Maharaj. And then Prabhupada gives an example of someone who is like mid-age, as a man. I think then Prabhupada gives the example of Ambarish Maharaj. Then Prabhupada gives the example of someone who took up to bhakti in very old age. I think the example given was Ajamil. Ajamil, when he was only 90 years old, he still had a young child at the age of 90, Narayan, and just right at the fag end of his life, just before he would die, he chanted Narayan, and he was saved. So in this way, in one purport, Prabhupada is explaining, for bhakti, there's no age barrier. Regardless of whatever age you are, Krishna won't judge you based on your age. Depending on your capacity, he will reciprocate accordingly. So in this way, Prabhupada is trying to make this point that we don't have to be worried so much about whether I'm qualified, not qualified. Anyone and everyone is qualified to take shelter of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, to become their devotees, to offer their prayers. And that's why Prabhupada is writing. Even a small boy, there are many instances, even just small boys like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, they offered great prayers to the Lord. So we can confidently come up to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath and offer prayers. In the 11th canto, it's given also. So we talk about there's no age barrier to bhakti. In the 11th canto, it's further established how there is no material barrier to taking to bhakti. And in Bhagavatam, I think we read this recently actually, in Uddhava Gita. We went through it with Ghanshyam Prabhu. There's one particular verse where Krishna is telling Uddhava of great devotees of him who took birth in bodies which one wouldn't consider as a very high birth. For example, bodies of demons. So Krishna, he gives examples of persons who were born in demoniac families but still became great devotees of him. And Krishna, he gives the example of Vitrasura, Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj. So like this, Krishna, he gives many examples that, again, to emphasize the point. It doesn't matter what body you have, whether young body, old body, demoniac body, body in mode of ignorance, body in mode of passion. Doesn't matter what your, how degraded you are or what consciousness you have, what sangha you've been born in. If you take shelter of my lotus feet, you'll become a devotee. So Krishna, he gives these examples of persons born in demoniac families. Then Krishna, he gives examples of persons born in family of animals. He gives the example of Garuda. Garuda is a bird, but he's, again, a great devotee of the Lord. Jatayu, Krishna, he also gives the example of Jatayu to Uddhava. And he gives the example of Hanuman, of a monkey. Even a monkey can become a devotee. Jambavan, he also gives the example of Jambavan. So in this way, Krishna gives numerous examples of different persons with backgrounds which one would think would impede their progress in bhakti. But again, Krishna is giving all these examples to show how for bhakti there can be no material impediment. Bhakti is an affair of the heart. Bhakti is an affair of the soul connecting with the Supreme Soul, Krishna. And that relationship is eternal. So therefore, there can be no material barrier to the relationship between the Supreme Lord and the jiva, no matter what body they have. So that's the unique quality of bhakti. Like with the other yoga processes, like Ashtanga yoga, we don't hear of any bird going and sitting in the forest doing, meditation or doing pranayama. We don't see any birds or monkeys doing pranayama, doing asana, doing tapasya. We don't hear of, all these other things. But so in the other yoga process, there's all these restrictions. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes that to do Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, one of the primary characteristics is one has to be fully celibate. One has to pretty much take sannyas. He has to give up his family, friends, and go and just do tapasya in the forest, do his Ashtanga Yoga. So one can't have a wife, one can't have children, and one has to completely stay aloof from all this. But Bhakti, Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Bhakti is so purifying, it's so potent, then one can be fully spiritually conscious and at the same time have a wife and at the same time have children, at the same time have a house and car and many material possessions. So generally these things are said to turn away one's attention from the Supreme Lord and they're supposed to reduce one's spiritual consciousness. But Prabhupada writes, Bhakti is so powerful that one can be married, one can have a wife, one can have children, one can have many material possessions, but at the same time one can be fully Krishna conscious. And in other yoga processes, they're not so powerful, so therefore they ask the practitioner that before you take to this yoga system, you have to give up your wife, you have to give up your children, give up your house, give up your work and go to the forest, renounce everything and do. Because it's not so powerful. But bhakti, it's so deep, it goes so much deep into the heart that one can be in family life, one can be surrounded with material possessions, opulence, and still be fully sheltered at the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. That's why the Bhagavatam, it gives so many examples of great kings like Priyavrata Maharaj. We're hearing from Ishwar Prabhu recently about the glories of Priyavrata Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Maharaj Yudhishthira, great kings who had so much opulence. They were married, they had so many children, so much wealth, opulence, fame, prestige. But despite having all of these, so-called distractions from the path of spiritualization, so generally speaking, according to the yoga system, all of these are said to be distractions from the path of self-realization, and they're generally put down. But at the same time, we're hearing in Bhagavatam of all these great kings. They're pure devotees, they're fully saturated with spiritual consciousness, but at the same time, they're having all these material opulences. So that's the unique, amazing power or potency of bhakti. That bhakti is so powerful, it goes so deep in the heart, that one can be surrounded by material opulence, but still not be diverted from his attention to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. He sees everything, connection with Krishna, and he's able to use everything for Krishna's pleasure. So in this way, Prabhupada, he glorifies bhakti in Bhagavad Gita. That for bhakti, there's no restrictions, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. Anyone and anyone, regardless of the background, regardless of the material situation, their consciousness, which background they're coming from, what body they have, anyone and everyone can take to bhakti, can take the shelter of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath's lotus feet. That's why we see in CC, I like that chapter, I think in Adi Leela, right, when the Pancha Tattva, it's given by Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami that when Krishna came, he bought the storehouse of love of Godhead with himself when Krishna came. But the storehouse of love of Godhead was sealed and no one could access it. Only a few rare souls, who were taken to Raganuga Bhakti, Ragatma Bhakti, they could access that. But in general, the storehouse of love of Godhead was sealed. But then Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami explains, but when the Pancha Tattva came 500 years ago, they just broke the seal of the storehouse of love of Godhead, and they just broke in and just started stealing all the nectar of love of Godhead. They started relishing themselves. Then they came out and they just started freely distributing love of Godhead to anyone and everyone without any restriction. And this way they drowned the entire universe in the ocean of love of Godhead. So understanding this should be our mood when we also do outreach. So when we distribute books or when we do any outreach, we should make it ourselves, because the general material tendency is to judge people. Like even when we distribute books, if we see someone young, then we think, okay, he'll be more interested. If we see someone older, we think, oh, he'll reject me. But that's not the mood that we're hearing here, right? What we're reading is, for bhakti, there's no material barrier. For bhakti, we shouldn't judge someone based on the material body. And we're reading in CC, Pancha Tattva, they didn't discriminate. He's young, he's old. They didn't discriminate. He's coming from this country, he's coming from that country, or he's a male, female. They didn't make any distinction. They just blindly just gave the mercy to anyone, everyone. So when we're doing outreach, either distributing books or preaching, we should protect our consciousness and just make it a point that we don't judge others based on the externals. And this is something that all of us had on book distribution, right? That we will approach someone thinking that this person will definitely take books. Be some young guy wearing some, spiritual things, with dreadlocks and stuff. You'll think, this guy, he seems very spiritual, He's wearing these nice yoga pants and he seems to have these Indian things around his neck. He will definitely take a book. And we approach him and that guy just ends up being someone very rude and puffed up and he just rejects us. Then another time we'll approach someone and they'll be very old and they'll look very grumpy. And in our mind, we'll think there's no way this person will take a book. And in our mind, half our mind will be saying, there's no point even approaching him. Let's just leave this person. But on the other half of our mind, we'll be thinking, anyway, let me just try, We'll just force ourselves to approach them, just for the sake of it. We'll be 99% sure that this person won't take a book, but just for the sake of it, just out of duty, you'll say, okay, I'll just approach this guy. And we'll approach this guy fully confident that this person won't take a book, but it ends up being complete opposite. It ends up being that person is very favorable, and this way, so many instances this realization comes to us when we do outreach or book distribution. So the same thing we can see in real life of, same practical thing. How for bhakti there's no material barrier. Anyone and everyone can take to it, regardless of what body they have, what consciousness they have, what material background they have. So in this way, Gopinath, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, they're open for anyone and everyone. Okay, so that's that line of the purport. There are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord could offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. In other words, without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably. So in the last line of the purport, Prabhupada is giving one other requirement of offering prayers. Prabhupada writes that without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably. So when we're offering the prayers, okay, we can offer praise of selected words. We can find nice bhajan, nice sloka from Bhagavatam or Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, combine that with our own praise and offer to Krishna. But along with that, Prabhupada is saying, along with reciting these nice verses of selected praise, we should also offer the praise with affection and love. If we don't offer it with affection and love, then the praise won't be very suitable. So this is something we should, in our mind, we should be conscious of. That sometimes, we might have certain verses or slokas which we daily recite to the Supreme Lord, but after some time it might become a bit mechanical. Like it just become like a routine. Every day we just come and just recite the verse. But we should make sure that Prabhupada is saying that as we're reciting these prayers, it should be done with love and affection. And how do we do it with love and affection? We can do a bit of contemplation on whatever slokas or verses we're reciting, what is the mood of this devotee who's offering this prayer, and just contemplate a bit on it, then we'll get a bit more realization of bit more about the meaning on the purport of the verse, and this way we can offer it with a bit more love and affection and feeling. So along with offering selected prayers, we have to offer it with a proper mood and consciousness, Prabhupada is saying. And actually, this aspect of offering prayers, we can say, is more important actually, because Krishna, as we know, is Bhavagrahi Janardana, that what is actually after is the mood or the consciousness in which is offered. So just like, the famous example of Vidura himself, like we're hearing about him now. He was offering, him and his wife, actually his wife was offering banana peels to Krishna. But Krishna, he didn't see the external, rather he saw the bhakti in which she was giving him or offering him. So in the same way, a particular devotee might not have very good English, might not be very well spoken, and he might not be able to offer praise so nicely. He might not have a very good sense of music, so when he's reciting slokas, they're not sung in nice tune, they're very, it's very, the tune or the meter is not so nice. But Krishna, he doesn't judge that devotee based on that this devotee is not reciting this verse by Prahlad Maharaj in the right tune or right meter, he's screwing up on the meter, he's not saying it, proper rhythm. Krishna won't judge the devotee based on that. But rather, more important than that, what Krishna is looking is for the love and the affection. So, just like Krishna, he's not judging devotees by these externals, and he's looking to see the love and the mood, in which devotees are offering him devotion. So in the same way, as servants of Radha Gopinath, we should also see Krishna's devotees in that same eyesight. Like one prayer Ghanshyam Prabhu was telling us, we can offer to Radha Gopinath, is please give us the eyes to see your devotees the way you see them. Because how does Krishna see his devotees? Just like it's given Lord Jagannath, he has, such big eyes. And why does Lord Jagannath have big eyes? Because with his big eyes, he is trying to see any good quality in his devotees. Not that with his big eyes, he's trying to find, small faults in different devotees. But no, Jagannath's mood is the other way around. A particular devotee might have so many faults and disqualifications, so many anathas, but Lord Jagannath with his big eyes, despite all of our anathas, all our disqualifications, Lord Jagannath will try and find even one small good quality, and by finding that one small good quality, Lord Jagannath will give us the greatest mercy. So that's the mood of Krishna. That is the mood in which Krishna or Lord Jagannath, they see their devotees. But how do we see Krishna's devotees? It's the other way around. So many devotees, they might be doing such nice, great service, working very hard, very sincere. But after a while, we get a bit used to seeing so many devotees, and we get a bit, what's that word? Familiar. Familiarity breeds contempt. We get a bit familiar with all the other, this devotee, he's like that, this devotee, he does this. And then we start finding faults. A particular devotee might have so many nice, good qualities, but we'll find small little faults. Like Prabhupada said, we'll try and find one small black spot, in a shining white dhoti. The whole dhoti will be clean and nice, but we'll just pick any small little black dots. Or Prabhupada gives the example of the moon. The moon is very beautiful and nice to see in the night sky. You look out the window, you see the beautiful moon, you see the stars, and it's so nice and pleasing to see the moon, and it gives such nice pleasure. But someone whose consciousness is not so great, instead of enjoying the beautiful effulgence of the moon, Prabhupada says, he'll look at the moon and he'll say, look at the moon, it has this black spot there, it has this black patch there, it has this patch there. So instead of relishing the beautiful effulgence of the moon, he starts picking faults with the moon. So in the same way, due to our material tendency, because the way we grow up is, we grew up with this fault-finding tendency. The material society is designed in such a way that we're trained to find faults, we're trained to gossip about others. Just like they have these magazines, which is just wholly about gossip about celebrities, right? They have so many different magazines about gossiping about celebrities, like this celebrity is doing this celebrity is doing this actor is doing that, this actress is doing that, this person had a baby, this person had a divorce, this person married this actor, this person married this actress. So like there's whole magazines, I don't know, I forgot the titles of stuff, but there's so many magazines out there just about, gossiping about celebrities and so on and so forth. But, so this is the way we've been brought up in material society, to find faults, to gossip and stuff. But when we come to KC, we find that the other way should come. And that's why Ghanshyam is saying, one prayer we can offer is, Krishna, please bless me, so I will have the eyes to see your devotees the way you see them. So how does Krishna see his devotees? He sees the love and affection in which devotees are serving him. He sees the service mood of which devotees are seeing them, and he overlooks apparent faults and mistakes devotees are doing them. So in the same way, just like Gopinath is seeing his devotees in that way, we should also see Krishna's devotees in that way. We should see how they're serving Radha Gopinath nicely, how they're sacrificing their time, how they're sacrificing their money, their wealth, their intelligence, their mind, how they're sleeping late, waking up, doing so much hard work for Krishna's service. And this is what our eyes should go towards. And we should overlook apparent faults, anathas other devotees might have, understanding that everyone is practicing, everyone is trying their best, and just like we're not perfect, others aren't perfect, and if we just stick to the process, we all get purified. Similarly, other devotees, they'll get purified, their anathas will also slowly go. So we shouldn't take those so seriously. Okay, I'll stop here. We're just on time. Any comments, questions, anything before we finish? Okay. Stop here. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.